You hit $250,000 in savings. You should feel free. Instead, you feel stuck. Nobody warns you about this number. Nobody tells you what happens the moment you cross it. Most people think $250,000 means you made it. They think the hard part is over. They think the money just grows by itself from here. That is what everyone believes. And that belief is exactly why so many people get stuck right at this stage for years, sometimes for the rest of their lives. Here is the truth nobody talks about. $250,000 is not a finish line. It is a trapdoor. It is the exact point where your old strategy stops working and a new one has to begin. If you keep doing what got you here, you will watch this number sit still while inflation quietly eats it away year after year. Think about how long it took you to get here. The sacrifices, the years of saving, the moments you said no to things you wanted just to keep building this number. And now, at the one point where it should be working the hardest for you, it is actually at the highest risk of stalling completely. Why does this happen? Because the strategy that gets you to $250,000 is completely different from the strategy that grows it into real wealth. Most people never make that switch. They keep saving the same way, investing the same way, thinking the same way. And the money just sits there, technically growing, but nowhere near what it should be doing at this stage. Stay with me because later in this video, I am going to show you the exact shift high net worth families make the moment they cross this number. The one move that separates people who stall here from people who turn $250,000 into $1 million and beyond. But first, let's talk about why this number changes everything. The moment you hit $250,000, three things happen at once, and almost nobody sees them coming. First, your tax exposure changes. The way the IRS looks at your accounts, your capital gains, your interest income, it shifts. Money sitting in a regular savings account at this level is quietly losing value to inflation every single year, even while the account balance looks like it's growing. Second, your risk tolerance needs to change, but most people's instincts tell them the opposite. After years of careful saving, your brain wants to protect this number. It feels too big to risk. So people become overly cautious right when they should be doing the opposite, letting a portion of that money work harder for them. Third, and this is the one almost nobody talks about, $250,000 is the exact point where compound growth either starts working seriously for you or completely stalls out. The difference between those two paths over the next 20 years can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Sometimes more than $1 million. Let that sink in for a second. The next move you make right now at this exact stage can be worth more than everything you did to get here in the first place. Here's where most people go wrong. They leave the bulk of this money sitting in a low-interest savings account, telling themselves they're being smart and safe. What they don't realize is that safe is not the same as smart. If your money is earning less than inflation, you are losing purchasing power every single year, even though the number on the screen keeps going up. Other people make the opposite mistake. They panic and move everything into high-risk investments, chasing bigger returns because they feel behind. That is just as dangerous. One bad year can wipe out years of careful saving. The families who actually turn this milestone into real wealth do something different. They stop thinking about this money as savings. They start thinking about it as a machine that has one job, to make more money without them lifting a finger. So what does that machine actually look like? Let's break it down simply. The first move is splitting the money into layers. Not everything sits in one place doing one job. A portion stays liquid and safe, so you are never forced to sell an investment at a bad time just because you need cash. A portion goes into long-term growth, the kind of investment that is built to outpace inflation over 10, 20, 30 years. And a portion goes into something that generates income right now, money that pays you consistently, not just money that sits and waits. This is the shift. Instead of one big pile of savings, you build three separate engines, each with its own job. That is the difference between $250,000 that stalls for a decade and $250,000 that turns into seven figures. The second move is protecting the money from tax erosion. At this stage, small tax decisions make a massive difference over time. The accounts you use and how you use them can either keep more of your growth in your pocket or quietly hand a big chunk of it over every single year. This is not about finding loopholes. This is about simply knowing which accounts are working for you and which ones are working against you. The third move, and this is the one that separates people who stall from people who scale, is automation. The families who grow this money the fastest are not the ones checking it every day, making emotional decisions. They set up a system once and let it run. No panic selling, no chasing trends. Just a steady, boring, consistent process that compounds quietly in the background. Here's why this matters so much right now. If you keep doing nothing, if you leave this money sitting exactly where it is, inflation alone can quietly cut its real value by a third over the next 15 years. That is not a guess. That is simple math. The number on your screen might still say 250,000, but what it can actually buy you in the future keeps shrinking. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine making this one shift today, splitting the money into layers, protecting it from unnecessary tax loss, letting it run on autopilot. 20 years from now, that same $250,000 could be the foundation of a portfolio worth well over $1 million, without you having to work any harder than you are working right now. That is the real difference this video is about. Not working more, not saving more, just making the right decision at the exact moment it matters most, which is right now if you are anywhere near this number. Here is your one actionable step. Before you do anything else, sit down and separate your money into those 3 layers we just talked about: safe and liquid, long-term growth, and income generating. Even if you don't move a single dollar this week, just seeing your money laid out that way will completely change how you think about it. If this video helped you see your own savings differently, that is exactly why this channel exists. We break down the real decisions that separate people who stay stuck from people who build lasting wealth, without the jargon, without the noise. Hit like if this opened your eyes to something you hadn't thought about before. Subscribe if you want to keep learning how to make your money actually work for you. And if you want to go deeper into exactly how compound growth builds real wealth over time, there is another video on this channel that walks through it step by step. Watch that one next.